All right, friends, it is time to talk about a topic that I have some opinions on. I'm going to present you with an idea here. I know that this is going to make some people upset. I know some people aren't going to want to hear this, but I've got something that you need to hear, which is that contrary to popular belief, smoking weed, as it turns out, is not a personality. Believe it or not, because what we're going to do, we're going to look at the long history of songs that are about smoking weed and basically nothing else. I'm going to try to understand why people think that this is such a fascinating personality trait. Like, what is so great about weed that people make it into their entire identity? I'm not even here to tell you, like, to stop smoking weed. Well, actually, I am here to tell you to stop smoking weed, but not because it's bad for you. You should stop smoking weed because it's cringe, because it's corny. It's not great for you, but that's not that big of a deal. The real problem with smoking weed is it is so absolutely corny and played out. It is the exact opposite of being edgy. That's the truth. But let's talk about it. I'll give you some examples of this. Maybe right now you're like, you're about ready to type out an angry comment telling me how I'm all wrong and that actually smoking weed is super cool. But I think after we look at some of these songs, I think you'll be forced to admit, damn it, smoking weed is actually corny as hell. It's time for me to quit. Yeah, that's right. Have you ever tried Tidal Tornado, bro? You just haven't smoked the right strain, bro. At the safer sort of end of things, on the lesser end of the cringe spectrum, we have stuff like Snoop Dogg, although I will say that even Snoop Dogg, he used to be like a cool rapper that just happened to smoke weed. But then at some point, his entire identity and brand became about weed. Like when he became Snoop Lion and he wrote this song called Smoke the Weed. Like really, this is like the whole song, and his whole identity is just like, I smoke weed. Like, okay, cool. Is there anything else interesting about you? Nah, man, I smoke weed. Yeah, no, we've established that. Is there anything else interesting about you or your music? No, it's about weed. Great. Okay, understood. Smoke the weed, man. Just vibing. All the pollution in this world, me just can't stand it. Interesting that Snoop Dogg from Long Beach suddenly adopted a Jamaican accent when he wrote the song about weed. Now, this is an interesting thing. So he said, all the pollution in the world, we just can't stand it. Yeah, all that pollution in the world, like the smoke from the tailpipe of your car, or from a factory smokestack, that kind of pollution. But for some reason, people have this idea that smoking weed somehow is like healthy. Like it doesn't count. Like the unhealthy effects of smoke don't apply as long as that smoke is generated from burning marijuana, then somehow it doesn't count. Again, rap and weed, they sort of have always gone hand in hand. So I would say of all the cringy songs about weed out there, this is like probably on the more mild end of the spectrum. But even from this, you're like, man, do you really want to be one of these people? These grown men standing out in the street that think it's so cool? Like, bro, I smoke weed, bro. Aren't you impressed that I smoke weed? Isn't that super edgy and daring that I smoke weed, even though it's totally legal? Like, I just don't understand why people think that it's such an interesting thing to do. Like, it's legal. This is no different than like drinking, I don't know, a Yoo-hoo in the middle of the street. You're like, bro, I drink Yoo-hoo, bro. You're like, cool. No, you don't understand, bro. I drink Yoo-hoo like every day, man. I wake up, I chug a Yoo-hoo like 10 times a day. I'm just like blasting Yoo-hoos all day. Like, right on. Like, cool. I'm really impressed. But for some reason, people seem to think that smoking weed is like this really rebellious, edgy activity. And I'm not sure why. Maybe in the 60s it was. I'm not sure why. Now, the real problem is if you continue down the road that Snoop Dogg set out on, then the tragic conclusion to being a rapper who talks about weed or being a fan of rappers who talk about weed, what could happen if you keep going down this road? I have a tragic warning for you. You may become a member of Kottonmouth Kings. Where the Weed At by Kottonmouth Kings, featuring guys in their 30s doing bong hits in the living room of some crappy apartment in Anaheim. I mean, just like imagine this, like in all seriousness, I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking, but there's something about turning weed into like the central component of your lifestyle that just turns you into the most like pathetic kind of loser. You know, like imagine this being your life. Some like shitty 2-bedroom apartment, you know, with like brown carpet in the living room, sitting here with a bunch of your friends in their 30s doing bong hits off this table covered in stickers, like you guys are 17 years old, you know, but you're 32. And it's like, man, that you like what, like it's honestly just sad. Exactly. And thinking that you're God tier above everyone else because of it. That's the thing that's so strange, is like the superiority complex from like smoking weed, from being like basically a drug addict, is just bizarre. And weed is the only drug where people talk about it this way, you know, like nobody else brags about doing cocaine or brags about smoking meth or brags about, I don't know, doing steroids, you know. It's only weed where they like brag about it and make it into their like basis of their identity. Like I genuinely don't understand what it is. Like, why is weed, like even alcohol, people talk about drinking to some extent, you know, but like nobody makes an entire band just about alcohol. I mean, I guess there's like Ailstorm and stuff, but like there's like a whole genre of music that's just about pot. And it's just bizarre. I called it pot. God. Have you been smoking pot? Don't try to bullshit me, son. You've been smoking pot, haven't you? Is that a doobie? I've seen a doobie before. You're not fooling me. That's a doobie full of pot. But it really is strange that like your whole life revolves around a plant. It's a fucking plant. You know what I mean? I worked in the restaurant industry for over a decade, and the drinkers were far worse than the potheads. Well, for sure, like alcohol is worse for you than weed. Alcohol is worse for you than almost every drug. But there's just something about weed where it becomes like your identity. You know what I mean? Like nobody's making videos like this of like, yeah, me and my friends, we sit around in the living room all night, every night, and we like drink alcohol and we're so fucking edgy and cool. Like, look at this fucking shot glass in my hand. It doesn't become like your whole identity. It's just, it's bizarre. That's right. Alcohol cures all diseases. That's the other thing about weed. It's like, for some reason, it's like these Eddie Bravo type people. It's like, bro, didn't you know that weed cures cancer? You know, my aunt had dementia and Parkinson's and got one of her legs cut off, and then she smoked weed and her leg grew back. You know, it really takes you into this like, just like bizarre, I don't know about like what the actual like pharmacology of it is, but it kind of rots your brain and like makes you sort of susceptible to a lot of just like kind of really weird fringe bizarre conspiracies. Like I haven't looked, but I would bet $1 million that there's a ton of people who said that smoking weed would protect you from COVID. Right? Like people are like anti-vaxxers who are like, nah, man, I'm not going to get vaccinated because I got this, bro. I got nature's medicine, bro. Breathing in this smoke will protect me from COVID. That's some stoner logic for you right there. Another cautionary tale here is if you smoke weed just once, you may turn into 2015 Miley Cyrus when she did her Miley Cyrus and the Dead Pets album.
Ready? Yep.
Might need some more marijuana.
I need some more marijuana.
Yeah, I love peace, but I don't give a fuck. I ain't no hippie.
Yeah, I smoke pot. Yeah, I love peace. I don't give a fuck, but I ain't no hippie. I don't know. It's just like, you know, doing coke will turn you into a kind of a douchebag. Doing like too much meth will turn you into a tweaker that sits at the bus stop and like picks at your face. But there's something about doing weed that just turns you into a cringe human. Like, why is that? Why does weed, like the side effect of weed is that it just turns you into just the most like cringe person. You know, smoking weed makes you susceptible to listening to bad music. Well, that's true too. That's true too. It's bizarre. Like, what is it about weed that just turns you into cringe? It stagnates your life. It does. It does. I'm curious how you feel about Sublime. They're so good, but I feel like they have a good balance of weed and non-weed songs. Well, listen, Sublime is so good, I can just look the other way when it comes to their weed songs. Listen, if you smoke weed once, it may make you think that this music is good. That's right. If you smoke just one pot, you'll like this a lot more. It's like shockingly bad. Well, listen, people, I didn't do it. I'm not the one that smoked weed and decided to make this song. Another band that, like, this is probably the best example of weed themed music is this band Cannabis Corpse, which is a death metal band who all their songs are about weed, such as this one. Now, this band is pretty good. Weed is cringe. It's the truth. Here's what I'm talking about. Like, this band is good, and they've been around for like 10 years. This is what weed does to you. It makes you think that things are much funnier and much more clever than they actually are. Like, when people say that, oh, when I smoke weed, it makes me more creative. No, when you smoke weed, it just lowers your standards and it makes you think that things that are just okay are great. You know, like, listen to the music people make when they're high. Like, oh, dude, this beat is fire. Dude, you killed it on that verse. And then you listen to it and it's some guy just like droning into the mic that sounds like he's half asleep, that forgot the words halfway through. It's like, no, it was not fire. You did not kill it on the mic. You were just so high that you didn't understand what the fuck was going on. And then, of course, the reality of it here, people, the only honest song about weed ever is Because I Got High by Afroman. This is the only honest song. Very cool, by the way. Smoking weed and driving, totally a responsible thing to do, right? Totally hilarious. Oh, that's so funny. He's driving while he's high. What a wacky fella. Well, he's so goofy. Driving under the influence. What a silly fellow.
I was gonna clean my room until I got high.
That's right. I was going to hit the brakes and avoid killing that child, but then I got high. Oh, yeah, that's right. And weed makes you totally chill, too. Just like this. Weed makes you a totally chill bro that doesn't react violently to anything, right? Just like this time back in 2015. He fucking blasted this girl right in the face because she dared to get on stage with him. Good thing that he smoked so much weed that he was totally chill and it wasn't a big deal. Like, I don't even think this is funny. Look at this. This is not him, like, just like gently like nudging her or something. This is a fucking haymaker, just blasted her right in the fucking face. I was gonna not assault a female fan on stage and then I got high. This is the thing about weed. It makes you like fake chill. People who smoke weed will tell you how chill they are and like how relaxed they are. Well, no. Well, how about this? Try taking away their weed and see how chill they are. Huh? How about that? They're like, oh, I'm not an addict. I can quit anytime I want. Oh, okay. How about I take your weed then? Whoa, dude, you better not touch my fucking weed, bro. I'll fucking take you out if you touch my weed, man. I'm totally not an addict. Oh, okay, yeah. You don't seem like an addict at all.
My room is still messed up, and I know why. Because I got high. Because I got high.
I mean, at least he's telling the truth. It's like, this is what happens when you smoke weed all the time, is you become, like, it destroys ambition. You know, obviously smoking weed once in a while, not a big deal. But if you become one of these people that like smokes all the time, you know, wake and bake, and then you got to smoke before work and smoke when you get home and smoke before bed and all this stuff, it's a pacifier for stoners. Like this song is the actual truth. You're like, oh, I just forgot to show up to work today and I got fired. Oops. You know, this is what happens to you if you turn weed into like your entire lifestyle. And it's like, it's not cool and edgy. Like, I would at least respect it if people wrote songs about like, you know, doing meth. At least I would respect it, you know, because at least doing meth is like actually edgy and dangerous and risky. Like, do you remember the Viper song? Y'all cowards don't even smoke crack. Like, at least if you wrote a song about smoking crack, like, okay, cool, respect. You smoke crack. But it's like, I agree with him. He was right. Y'all cowards don't even smoke crack. And then it will also convince you that music like this is good. The album Dope Smoker by Sleep. You remember when so many rappers wrote songs about like doing Xans and how fucking cringe that was? And everyone's like, shut the fuck up. We're not impressed that you take Xans. That shit's dumb. Quit making that stupid pill your whole identity. You remember how dumb that was? Well, it's just as dumb when people do that about weed. So my point here with this conversation, which I'm sure has already made a lot of people mad. The point I would like to make here, smoking weed, it's not cool, people. It's cringe. It's cringe. Smoking weed is my parents' shit. That's what my stepdad was into weed. I remember like my stepdad and my friend's dad would like go smoke weed all the time. It's not cool. Like you're just like my boomer hippie stepdad when you smoke weed. It's not cool. If you want to impress me, go smoke some crack. If you keep smoking weed, people, there's only one way that this road ends, and it ends in cringe. It ends in you becoming a member of Kottonmouth Kings or 2015 era Miley Cyrus. Either way, you don't want this to happen to you. Help me help you. Just put the joint down now. Put down the bong. Save yourself from a life of cringe. That's my advice. That's my advice. I've seen a doobie before. You're not fooling me. That's a doobie full of pot.